I'm at a random West London train station right now, and what I really need is to get to another random West London train station about 8 miles away. There are loads of ways I could do it, but what I want is to use a bus that only runs once a week, is used by practically no one, and only exists for a really obscure legal reason. But I just don't think it's going to happen. Wait a minute. It's 11:17 on a Wednesday. This is the West London Ghost Bus. It's been running once a week between West Ealing and West Ruislip stations for about 2 years now. When a train operating company decides that they want to close a particular rail line, they have two options. They could submit a formal proposal to close that part of the line. They would have to do an assessment, and then it would go to the government. There would be a consultation, and finally a decision. That's a pretty costly and time-consuming process, and if they do it, it means that the line is closed for good. If they want to reopen it later down the line, they would have to go through a whole other process, which is probably even more complicated than closing it in the first place. Or, instead of doing any of that, they could keep it technically open by just running one train a week. That way, they maintain control over the line because it's still technically open, and they don't have to do any of the consultation stuff. If they want to reopen the line later on, they can just run more trains. So in this case, what is the particular route that needs to be technically kept open, and how is this bus achieving that? The ghost route in this case runs from West Ealing to West Ruislip station, but those two stations aren't on the same line, and there's very little demand to travel between the two of them. But you can do it using the Greenford branch line, a little 2-mile rail line, and that'll get you from West Ealing to Greenford, and from there you can get the London Underground to continue on to West Ruislip. But there is another little bit of track that would let you do this directly. Instead of using this bit of track to come into Greenford station, you could use this bit of track to go around it. And that little bit of track is the ghost route. It's only useful for running fast trains between two fairly random stations that are already well served by many other trains. But it's not legally been closed, so some kind of passenger service has to run on it. The train company responsible for this route is called Chiltern Railways, and for a number of years they did run a ghost train between these two locations, but a couple of years ago they stopped and replaced it with a ghost bus. The ghost train used to run from this platform at West Ealing, which is used exclusively by trains which run on the Greenford branch line, but all the other trains actually stop at Greenford, so they don't use that little bit of track. But like 60% of Britain's rail network, the Greenford branch line is unelectrified, so the trains still run on diesel. And that's something we're trying to get away from, but the funding doesn't seem to be there to run overhead power lines on all of those routes. So for the past couple of years, this platform has been used to test a battery electric train, which works much like an electric car. Since the route is so short, you can just charge the train while it's in the platform and send it on its way. Actually, it is a bit more complicated than that because the charger pulls 2,000 kilowatts, and that's more than you can get from the grid. So the charger actually has a second set of batteries, which it slowly fills over time, and then it can rapidly draw from those to charge the train while it's in the platform. But anyway, this is one possible solution to Britain's rail electrification problem. But in order to test it, it was decided that the ghost train to West Ruislip would have to get out of the way. So Chiltern Railways were given permission to replace it with a bus. Which is kind of a whole new layer of absurdity, right? I mean, now not only can you keep a rail line open by just running one train a week, you can keep it open by running no trains and instead running a bus. Where does this end? In a few years, are we going to have rail lines that are technically still open because there's like a guy named Steve who says he'll give you a lift in the back of his 2006 Ford Focus? All of this might be about to change though, because the railway network is currently being nationalised. We don't yet know all the details of what the new system is going to look like, but the days of handing out contracts to private companies to run train services are coming to an end. Will that mean that ghost trains and ghost buses are no longer needed? Who knows? But until then, I guess we'll just find out how deep down this rabbit hole of things that technically kind of count as train services we can go.